got lots to talk about today, so get in here. This is Jack with Cosmic Road. I talk about UFOs and the paranormal. Please hit like and subscribe and let me know what you think in the comments below. Yeah, to start with, it looks like the FAA might be doing something regarding the mystery drones. You know, the FAA approved research drones or drones for research and other purposes. Well, let's see what the FAA is actually doing about this.
FAA says it will fly several drones to test out new drone detection technology. Those flights will take place near Cape May, New Jersey, over a 2-week period beginning Monday. There was a spike in mystery drone sightings in the Garden State late last year and near major airports in some other states. The FAA says it plans to conduct similar tests in New Mexico, North Dakota, and Mississippi later this year.
Okay, so they're they're launching drones to test drone detecting technology to detect drones they authorized for research and other purposes. It makes perfect sense. When will they tell us the truth about the mystery drones? I mean, I get why they're lying about it. I've talked about that before, but they are lying about something important that is interfering with our airspace right now. This is important information that they are withholding from us, and it is important information. It is critical information that the public of America and the world, should know. This is BS. I understand why the government is lying about the mystery drones, because this would be UFO disclosure, and it would be catastrophic UFO disclosure, because these objects are shutting down airports around the world, shutting down military installations, forcing us to relocate fighter jets at great expense to other bases. This is admitting that there is an unknown phenomenon that is interfering with our activities and that we can't do anything about. So this would be catastrophic disclosure. I understand why they're lying about it, but they have nobody to blame but themselves. They have painted themselves into this corner, and now they're forced to say these drones are FAA authorized. Meanwhile, the FAA is trying to figure out what they are. Oh, God, you can't make this stuff up, guys. It's nuts. Meanwhile, people are trying to figure out what the dog whistle is. Imperfect Organism says made an audio file for the dog whistle based on Jason Wild's specs. And by the way, Jason Wild has released some specs. Where is that? That is somewhere around here. Yeah, if you don't know the dog whistle, that is what a Skywatcher, Jake Barber's organization, is using to bring in the UFOs, this electronic device or signal, something, we don't know exactly what it is, that enables them to lure in these exotic craft. They use that. They also use psionics to lure in these, these UFOs, right? Well, Jason Wild is trying to figure out what this dog whistle actually is, and he's released these instructions. What's in the signal? 7.83 hertz carrier via modulated 100 hertz bass tone, Schumann resonance, and it goes on. I will link to this, and if you want to create your own dog whistle, you can, to see if you can lure in these UFOs. Is this exactly what Skywatcher is using? Probably not, but it's really intriguing that people are trying to figure this out. Yeah, here's the dog whistle, according to Imperfect Organism, who has tried to reverse engineer this or to build this based on Jason Wild's specs. I don't know if I want to play the whole thing, but let me know if any UFOs showed up for you during those 10 seconds. Hey, maybe they did. Maybe they did. Let me know. Speaking of the dog whistle, here is a woman claiming to be in the military talking about the dog whistle.
The electromechanical signaling. We call this our dog whistle. What the technology is classified. Generally speaking, we see 3 to 5 different classifications of UAP per day during operations. To make sense of our data, we had to develop a lexicon, and we base it off of flight characteristics. Again, there are 9 different flights or classes, and some of these UAPs may be the same type of UAP under different flight configurations. But at this point, given their behavior, we are confident that they do not align with your typical extraterrestrial explanation. Again, each UAP has different characteristics. Some tumble, some spin, some flicker, some just look like a living being flying in the sky. UAPs are extremely hard to image. What is seen with the naked eye generally is not what is seen under camera, and we do not know why. Class 1.
Yeah, so is she on the levels? She's saying basically the same sorts of things that Jake Barber's team was saying, a Skywatcher. What are these objects? Whether she's on the level or not, what is Skywatcher bringing in? They don't look like structured craft. They don't look like flying saucers or cigars or flying pyramids or anything, known to, conventional ufology. They look like, jellyfish and blobs and, God knows what else. Oh, I guess we do know what else because they've got, the diagrams right here. They got eggs. This one looks a little bit more structured, as does the manta ray. But when you see the manta ray in the Skywatcher videos, it's kind of tumbling through the air in a weird, nonsensical way. Nothing like what we would understand of how our own craft move, or how most would imagine their craft move. But there you go, people talking about the dog whistle and even trying to create their own dog whistles. I think that's very exciting. Obviously, it could also be a little scary, and I would go into any such contacts with caution. I would not necessarily advocate people going out and using the dog whistle to bring these things in. Because we don't know what they are. So I'm really curious. In the next episode of Skywatcher, we're going to get the psionics, the psychically gifted people that are interacting with these objects. And I want to see what they have to say about these objects. Is the sky squid friendly? Well, let's find out maybe before we call it. But let me know what you think in the comments below. Meanwhile, some great UFOs. I think these are Dragon UFOs shared by Latchkey Hustle, who has a criminal lack of subscribers. He has less than 1,000 subscribers. He has an amazing channel. I will link to it, and I highly recommend you check it out. He does a very professional presentation showing these incredible objects, like the one we're about to see. And he specializes in showing Dragon UFOs or Dragon UAP. And of course, that is a term coined by Dr. Robert Scheip of California, who has pioneered the research into this specialized branch of UFO, these small UFOs that fly very fast and that buzz our aerial vehicles. Planes, helicopters, they will just buzz anything in the sky. Going super fast, and you have to slow these videos down to really see them. But Robert has done that, and he has created interpolations where you can track the movement of these objects, and Latchkey does a great job of slowing these down and letting us see these things. Here's one. You can see it just kind of tumbling through the air. Yeah, again, we were talking about how the manta ray tumbles through the air. Well, this thing kind of does something similar, but much faster. Yeah, that's the real speed of this object. And it's not a bird, not a bug. That thing is going super fast, and and not moving like anything that we would understand. I don't understand it. If you understand it, let me know. But yeah, he has a range of these things, and he's by comparison, that's what a bird looks like. And we will see this anomalous object right there, buzzing this plane, going super fast, and even possibly splitting into two or something. And we've seen that a few times before as well. This interesting phenomenon where either it's two craft or one craft splitting into two. Who knows? Who knows how these things work? Yeah, but that's the speed of this object, and this is real time. Look how fast that was. I don't even know if you could see that, but there it was. Super fast object. Ridiculously fast. Very anomalous. Obviously not a bird or a bug. So yeah, let me know what you think about that, and go check out Latchkey's channel. In this video alone, he shows multiple dragons. Oh, and he also talks about the blob. Yeah, I mentioned the other day, the movie, the 80s movie, The Blob, one of my favorite 80s horror movies. Here I am talking about it, in relation to Jake Barber's classification system. Yeah, class 3 is known as The Blob. Well, Latchkey, his name is John, he said his dad actually worked on the blob. He was one of the actors. And yeah, he's the guy that owned the ice machine. Isn't that amazing? That's not him, but let's see. Okay, here he is, right at the end there. Still alive today, doing well. Yeah, so that's awesome that John's dad actually worked on the blob. That is so damn cool. In other news, Ross Coulthart says he was a witness one time when NASA seemed to be covering up a UFO event.
Look, I I actually do believe that NASA is on occasion suppressing photographs because I've seen it for myself. I've told this story before, but I might as well tell it again. I was at the Marshall Space Center in Huntsville, and that was in May last year when I was giving my address in Huntsville to the Scientific Coalition for the Study of UAPs. And I was being given a VIP tour around the Space Center by a very senior person in the Space Center. And while we were in the main control room with big console TVs showing the feed back from the space station, I noticed probably, I don't know, 8 to a dozen egg-shaped, Tic Tac shaped objects moving left across screen from the right. And they were coming from behind the space station, looking out towards outer space. And as we were watching, I said to the director of the Space Center who was showing us around, I said, look, is that Starlink satellites? Is there some Starlink launch that's just happened? And he looked and he went, no. Then he looked across to the console chief and she turned a switch and all of a sudden the feed came up saying, transmission to the space station has been temporarily interrupted. Now, I wouldn't have believed that unless I'd seen it.
Oh, that's crazy. But, you know, we've seen evidence of NASA covering up stuff for many years and possibly even violently covering up stuff in times past. Maybe they still are. Either way, a great example from Ross Coulthart of how NASA seemingly does indeed cover up the UFO phenomenon. Meanwhile, Mark von Rennenkamp is taking issue with Mick West's debunking of Jeremy Corbell's new Tic Tac UFO, the Jackson Tic Tac. He says flight trackers rule out Mick West's theory for the new Tic Tac video. More to the point, Mick West's theory is statistically impossible that this object could be a plane. Clearly, it's not a plane, but that's not going to stop Mick West. Mick West, if you disagree, how likely is it that two random planes maintain consistent separation in such a tiny portion of the sky? Yeah, clearly these objects in the Tic Tac video are not planes, but that's not going to stop Mick West. The final answer, according to Mark von Rennenkamp, while the exact value depends on the specifics of the assumptions, a conservative estimate suggests that the odds could be on the order of 1 in 10 to the 15th power. In any case, the probability is so vanishingly small that a 35-second period of identical angular separation between two random aircraft in a 5 by 3.3 degree view is effectively statistically impossible under purely random conditions. So there you go. Mick West has been debunked yet again. The Tic Tac stands as genuinely anomalous. Meanwhile, another great UFO video has surfaced, this time from Anatolia, Turkey. Look at these bright objects just hanging out in the sky. What do you think these things are? Are those flares? Are those drones? Or is this something more anomalous? Let me know what you think. Meanwhile, remember the case of the 200 cows that went missing? Well, the Washington Post hasn't and has released another article talking about this. Nearly 200 cows disappeared. In Colorado, the first report was filed just before Thanksgiving. 29 cows and calves, a rancher told a state agricultural official, hadn't come home. 1 week later, 3 more reports from 3 other owners. 46, 38, and 31 head of cattle, all gone. 3 days after that, rancher Kelly Birch also alerted authorities. She had counted her herd and come up with 43 animals short. I have this cow, but not this calf. Or I have this calf, but not this cow, said Birch, whose family has run cattle on the same swath of public land for 106 years. Something is not adding up here. All 187 missing bovines had spent the warmer months grazing thousands of acres on the high... Okay, guys, that one's going to be a tough one for me. Uncompahgre. I gave it a shot, guys. Uncompahgre Plateau. Rugged country where some animals always fall victim to predators, illness, or weather. But never this many, and not without leaving lots of carcasses behind. Also unusual, the vast majority were calves. Very intriguing. Ranchers and local authorities suspected they might have a modern-day case of cattle rustling on their hands. The disappearances in the fall set off an unprecedented state investigation spurred by Colorado's governor and involving sheriffs, a multi-agency task force, search planes, a $10,000 reward, and a bull rider turned cowboy who has scouted the area on horseback. The effort cast a spotlight on an enduring way of life in Colorado's most conservative western slope, where cattle bulk up in wild forest and canyon lands before eventually being sold to feed Americans' appetites for burgers and steaks. Months later, with much of the possible crime scene still blanketed in snow, the case remains mostly cold. Lost livestock isn't unheard of in this agricultural area famed for its sweet corn, but nothing of this magnitude at all, said Chuck Searchy, however you say that, an administrative sergeant for Montrose County Sheriff's Office, who is leading the investigation. So yeah, still no answers on the 200 missing cattle. We don't know what happened. Are these cattle mutilations? Some variety of cattle mutilations where the cattle aren't left, lying behind, sliced open and with glands removed, but instead taken aboard a craft and staying there or something like that. What happened with these 200 missing cattle? Will we ever get any answers on this? We might need a remote viewing on this or something like that to get some answers. I haven't heard any witnesses talk about UFO sightings during this flap of cattle missing, but that'd be really interesting if some did turn up. So if you guys are aware of any UFO incidents in that part of the state during these cattle vanishings, I guess I should say, let me know, because obviously that would be significant. And Wixie says, here are 4 more angles of the attack on Moscow, the UFO attack on Moscow, or whatever this thing was. Yeah, we still don't have any answers on what the heck this thing was. If they did shoot it and damage their own helicopter, they certainly haven't said anything. But with all the shots fired at this thing, I would expect a helicopter to be brought down. Some are saying, they're Russian, Russian soldiers. What can you expect? But I don't buy that explanation. And here's more camera angles on this thing. You can hear the guns rattling. Crazy stuff. We don't have any answers on this thing. Yeah, no clue what that thing is. Some are trying to say that it's a helicopter because they can hear the rotor noise. And hey, it could totally be a helicopter. I don't have a dog in this fight. But just for argument's sake, we've learned with the mystery drone phenomenon, if not before, that UFOs can make any sound they want. Mystery drones, sometimes they sound like drones when you can hear rotor noises. Sometimes they sound like planes. Sometimes they don't make any noise at all. So, just because you might hear a rotor noise does not necessarily mean there is a helicopter in play. But, that's not to say it wasn't a helicopter. I just find it hard to believe that if that's what it was, that it wouldn't be shot down. So, are those the rotors of a helicopter? Let me know your thoughts. Ken Jordan says, Clearest focus frame I could find. As a helicopter pilot, I'm not aware of any helicopters with disco lights on the blade tips. Certainly sounds like there was a helicopter in the area, but can't find a shot that shows a helicopter in the camera view. Also, helicopter don't zigzag like that without drastically changing their profile shape. Intriguing. Okay, all right. Now here's the helicopter that people are saying that it is with disco lights or whatever on the edge of the rotor. So is that what we're looking at in this footage? I'm not seeing it. I mean, I get why people say that, but to me, that doesn't look like a helicopter. I'm not seeing the sort of zigzag maneuvers that, he was talking about, but I'm also not seeing a helicopter. So let me know what you think about this still unexplained event in Moscow. Let me know what you think about it all in the comments below. Like and subscribe. Hit the bell to be notified of future videos. You don't want to miss a thing. Join me on social media. Facebook and Twitter links below. Love this bird. This bird is awesome. Isn't that guy? Yeah, like and subscribe. Support the channel by buying a t-shirt. See the merch store below. You can become a channel member to support Cosmic Road in an even bigger way. Channel members are rock stars, and I really appreciate you guys' support. Thank you. Also, channel members frequently get to see videos hours ahead of everybody else. Meanwhile, there are plenty of other videos on the channel, and I'll see you next time. This is Jack with Cosmic Road, signing out.